try it. Don't, because we have too many veterans right now that are killing themselves. It's the survivor's remorse. It's the guilt. I have a couple buddies that have actually, killed themselves as they got older. Don't, if anything, if it's the last resort, try cannabis. Don't pull the trigger. Don't do something silly. Don't do something that, just don't. Live. Don't die. Live.
Welcome to the Well with Cannabis podcast, a show dedicated to telling the life-changing stories of those who live well with cannabis, all while teaching you how to do the same. Meet your host, Emily Kyle, a registered dietitian nutritionist turned certified holistic cannabis practitioner. Emily changed her life for the better with the help of the cannabis plant, and now she is committed to helping others do the same. Tune in each week to hear heartwarming stories and gain the knowledge you need to feel connected, inspired, and supported on your own cannabis journey. Whether you're a new cannabis consumer or a lifetime lover, you'll benefit from these uplifting tales of real-life journeys that will show you how you too can live your best life well with cannabis.
Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to share a note on potentially sensitive content. The episodes on the Well with Cannabis podcast are created for adult audiences only. We will at times cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to suicide, abuse, mental illness, sex, drugs, alcohol, psychedelics, and the obvious use of plant medicine. Explicit language may be used occasionally. Please refrain from watching or listening to the show if you're likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. The information on this show is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice. If any of the content on this podcast has brought up anything for you, please reach out or speak to a professional or someone you trust. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Well with Cannabis podcast. I am super excited to have a special guest here with us today. I have Mr. Tony Robertazza, and we are going to have a really amazing conversation. Welcome, Tony. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I first and foremost want to say thank you so much for your service to our country. I am forever indebted to our veterans. I hope we can talk about that a little bit and how that's been a part of your journey with cannabis. But first and foremost, thank you for your service.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Can we talk a little bit about that as we go in our interview? Because I have so many veterans who are finding relief with cannabis. Is that okay to talk about with you?
Sure.
Perfect. So let's start a little bit before that. How did you get into cannabis? Was it one special day, or had you been contemplating it? Just give us a little background of your history and how you got here today.
Well, when I got out of the Army, it was like under house rules and then under Army rules. And it's like, okay, I have no rules. And I had a friend that introduced me, to weed. So it was illegal at the time. We're talking back in 89, 90 and stuff. And, so it was illegal and doing it. And it got me high or whatever. But it just, then I went into, drinking because of PTSD and all of that. Anyway, that's how I got started. But then when I came back home to Montana, I just quit. It was, none of that. And they had been pushing for years and years in legislation to make it legal here in the state. And as soon as it became legal, I knew the benefits of it, for me, as far as mental. Anyway, I didn't know about the body, but the mental for sure. And I was like, I'm getting on this, man. Yeah. As soon as they opened up the dispensaries for recreational use, I was like, here we go.
That is so exciting. How long has it been since they opened up?
Actually, it's been a little over a year now. So,
That's
we had medical marijuana, but I didn't want to go and apply for the green card because I don't know how true it is, but they said if you have the medical card to own a firearm, you might as well forget it. And I'm like, wait a minute, just because I'm using it for other reasons than just to get high, they're going to deny me, a veteran, from owning a weapon. I was like, nah. So I just never got it.
I completely understand. That is a huge fear for a lot of people. And someone's going to have to come up with something that is going to protect people either way, because it's way too much of a gray area. And people like yourself who could have actually really used the benefits of medical abstain from it because you don't want to have to make the choice between personal self-defense or medicine. And it's really unfortunate that they would even put our veterans in a situation where they had to choose between the two, because you deserve both.
Right. Well, I mean, according to our government, that there are solutions now that you can go, but the paperwork that you go through, it's
Oh, it's
phenomenal.
not worth it.
I mean, it is in the long run if you get in, but unfortunately, our government, I feel, has personally failed the veterans, where we have nonprofit groups and we have, for-profit groups like Wounded Warrior Project and other ones like that are actually, they're private citizens and former, soldiers, Marines, Air Force, that are helping veterans themselves versus what our government should be doing. But
I
that's just me.
can't imagine how frustrating that is. And especially in the cannabis space, where it seems like cannabis is a really viable solution for so many things that our veterans face, especially PTSD. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with cannabis and how that helps you?
Well, I mean, with the edibles that I make and stuff, learning from you, but it's more of a calming. It's not. I don't get like the high where I'm like, but it's the calming where the anxiety is basically gone and I can function. If say a trigger that can cause my PTSD because as any other veteran knows, once you get that, then you go through stages, then you hit a really deep depression, and it's really hard to come back from that. So, having this outlet where I could just go and be calm, it's just great.
Oh, I'm so happy that you found that. And I'm so happy that your state legally lets you access it. What's your experience like going to the dispensary? Has it been fun? Has it been nerve-wracking? What's it been like for someone who's never been before?
Well, I mean, it was funny because after I got out of the Army, it was used to, okay, we got to be real quiet. This is shady, we got to keep it.
Oh, yeah.
And then actually going to a dispensary, it's like I was still, wondering if Big Brother was watching or whatever. But yeah, the turnout for there was long lines the first few months.
The first few months, wow.
I mean, out the door, people waiting in line. Yeah.
Is there a wide variety of products to try?
There are. They're like the one that I used to go to. They had the gummies, the caramels, your edibles. They had several strains of cannabis. The flower that you could buy. But I don't smoke it because of asthma and religious beliefs, so I don't smoke. But I do decarb it, and then I make edibles out of it. So
that is awesome. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about that, just because a lot of people are under the misconception that smoking is the only way to consume cannabis. So would you share just a little bit about your edibles practice and how you kind of learn to use cannabis without smoking?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the edibles, it's a totally different high, as you well know, and other people that have tried it know as well, because it's more body. And I mean, if it is the mind, for me, like I said, it's more of a calming. Whereas when I did smoke, I had the paranoia with it, kind of, because you're so high with it. Mm-hmm. But with the edibles, I mean, obviously, like anything else, if you overdo it, you can get into the psychotic or whatever you call it of it, But yeah, it's just been great. With the edibles, like I say, you eat them and it just mellows you. And anything that I hurt in the Army, because I was a paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne, so I had some rough landings. I've landed in trees, all this other stuff. So, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, you feel like you're Superman. But when you hit 50, yeah, it comes back to bite you. And so the joints are hurting, and it's really helped with the pain, the inflammation. So.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Now, have you ever dabbled with pharmaceuticals or anything to help with the pain, or has cannabis always been your kind of go-to?
Well, I mean, before cannabis became legal, it was more a lot of alcohol and more of a lot of ibuprofen and Tylenol.
Yeah.
I mean, but with the ibuprofen, it was getting to the point where it was affecting my stomach. So I was getting acid reflux, real bad heartburn. And, now with the cannabis, it's like I hardly ever take ibuprofen. I don't hardly drink that much, like I used to. I used to drink like a fish just to either to, rid my mind of what happened. Of course, sometimes it took me even deeper, but a lot of the times it was to, just to go to sleep so I could just get away from the pain. But now it's like it's great. I don't hurt as bad. I still have flare-ups, because I'm 55, but it takes the edge off. So
That
absolutely.
is awesome. Can we talk a little bit more? Was there a very clear transition from alcohol to cannabis, or was it a gradual one? Because I do know a lot of people enjoy alcohol, but maybe perhaps to a detriment, and aren't really quite sure how to make that transition from one to the other.
Actually, it was pretty much overnight, because the first time I had the edibles, I just kicked back and I'm just watching TV. I'm interacting with my family. I'm just like, hey, this is cool. And I had a beer, but it didn't dawn on me that how much I did drink before to where now it's, I would say I've went from a 6-pack a day down to about 2 to 3 a day. So
that's awesome. And yet you're feeling better in the long
oh
run,
yeah,
which is,
absolutely.
amazing.
My liver thanks me.
I bet. And it's just healthier overall,
Yeah.
it really, and I don't know if you have found this, I've talked to a lot of women, but I would assume it's true for everyone that when you have cannabis and you're pain-free, not pain-free, but better, you just are more energetic. You're more likely to exercise. You're more likely to take care of yourself. You're more interested in eating better. Have you found that to be true as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I don't know, I would say probably the past 2 years with the pain, simple things around the house, taking out the garbage, um, mowing the yard, shoveling the sidewalks, I would hurt so bad I couldn't do it. So I'd have to have my son go out there and do it. And, it's like, wait a minute, this is my job. Yeah, he's a kid and he can have responsibilities and stuff, but to me, it's me. That's what I do. So it made me feel small because I wasn't able to accomplish these things like I used to. But now I'm right back in the game. So
It's got to make you feel so good. Can
oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
we talk about your family a little bit and what it's like to be a family man? Because I've talked to a lot of moms who use cannabis and have felt some sort of guilt moving through as being a parent. As a dad, how has your experience been with cannabis? Do you talk about it with your kids? Are you not ready yet? Give us a little glimpse there.
Well, my children are older. I have a daughter that's 20, 21. I have another daughter that's 20, and my son is 17. And, I've told them, hey, this is why I'm taking it. This is, why I'm eating it, for the pain and stuff. And they've noticed a change in, less drinking. Again, they've noticed that I'm more interactive. They just seen the change too. And it's not a stigma in the house. I was upfront with my kids right off the get-go. It's going to be legalized. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try it. If it doesn't work, we'll go from there. But it's been a success. So it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. I feel like being honest, especially at that age with your children, is just the best way to go. And at the end of the day, when they see their dad feeling better, like that's all that matters, I'm sure, to them. I'm sure they don't care about stigma or anything. They just want dad to feel better, which is awesome.
Yeah. Right. If my kids would have been, 5 or 6 years old, I probably wouldn't. Right. But like I say, they're all grown up and they know. So it's like, here's why I'm doing it. And it's the only reason why, I'm not going to become a junkie or whatever. This is for pain management, and, for my PTSD and stuff. So
like I said, they've got to just be so happy. Like if dad feels better, anyone should want that, as long as you feel better, more power to you. That's the end goal in all of this.
Right. Absolutely.
How does life look now? Do you share with people that you use cannabis? Do you feel a stigma personally sharing socially? How does that work?
Oh, no. The people I work with and even my family members, they're all cannabis users. But again, we're all edibles. And it's all for pain, because I have 2 brothers that are former military as well. We all went Army, but there are people that judge, but it took the 3 of us to convince my mom that eating these edibles, or even if we smoke, it's number one, it's legal,
Yeah.
So hello, get off my back about that. But number 2, we don't smoke and we're eating it, and we're doing it for the right reasons. It's for pain, for body and mind is why. And she actually went to California to visit my oldest daughter, and she ended up going into a cannabis shop. And she bought a salve, THC infused salve.
Yeah.
And she come back and she just bragged all about it. She goes, Tony, I don't hurt no more. I said, see?
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh my
So
God.
yeah, she won't take that. She's 74 and she'll probably kill me for saying her age. But she doesn't eat the edibles. She just uses the topical, and she's pain free. Well, pain comfortable. Let's put it that way, I guess. So.
And that's beautiful. As we
Yeah.
watch our parents age, they deserve to have a natural alternative option that they can reach for that would make them feel better.
Yeah.
I always say to people, like, wouldn't you want your mom to feel better? At the end of the day, no matter how you feel about it, it's about relief. It's about making people feel better.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. And that's what I appreciate about you, because when I started getting in, when they started to vote on the legalization, I went online and I looked at several people about, making the edibles. And I mean, you've got people out there that I guess are trying to give it the college try, that are trying to do it the right way. But when I found you, you are doing it the right way, because number one, you're professionally, trained as a nutritionist. Now you're into holistic medicine, and what you do, it's spot on. So I appreciate people like you too. So.
That's so nice. Thank you so much. Like, I really just want to provide like that basic education so that people can go out and make their own decisions.
Yeah.
When it comes to cannabis, it's so nuanced, it's so unique to everybody. But if we can all start with like that basic foundation education, everyone can kind of build their own journey up from there. So I'm so glad that they actually brought us together to have this conversation, because I really respect you as a veteran. And I hope that other people listening, I think that our veteran population deserves so much more than what they're getting. And cannabis is a really viable solution that's really within arm's reach for most people. And if we could encourage or maybe make somebody feel a little bit more confident and comfortable trying it, I feel like that this conversation is just going to be so meaningful for a lot of people.
Well, absolutely, because really there aren't as many drawbacks to cannabis as, say, an opioid, or even certain medications, all these side effects that they have that are actually detrimental to us. It might make you feel good this one way, but hold on, here's the con of it, where with cannabis, the only drawback is either you're going to feel good or you're just going to be like, hey, all right, that's it.
Absolutely.
You're going to be space free. Yeah. And
absolutely. It's easy. The risk isn't as high, I should say.
Right. Yep. Yep. I agree. And what was I going to say? But with the way that you're doing it, the education is the biggest thing. The movement to me with making cannabis legal, it's not the fact of, hey, we're just going to get high. Because to me, I was like, well, that's all people want. They just want to get high. But like I said, when I tried it and I realized the benefits of it, I was like, wow. And then, of course, the price of it is like, so supply and demand. So of course the supply is short, the price is going to go up. And then, like I said, I went online and was searching for avenues of how to make it, found you. And I haven't had to go back to the dispensary. I've got my own edibles in my fridge that I keep. I got my gummies and my chocolates. I don't do it at work because I don't even take ibuprofen at work anymore. I used to carry a bottle with me all the time. I don't take that anymore. I might have to, when I first get up in the morning, have to pop a couple ibuprofen, but that's it. Then when I get home, I eat me a piece of chocolate or a gummy bear and, give it that time to kick in. But in the meantime, I feel good. I can sit there, I can cook dinner. I go out, mow the yard. I can go out, whatever. Of course, it's wintertime, so I'm not doing that now, but I go out, shovel the sidewalk. I can do stuff. And then when the stuff kicks in, then I can just relax.
Isn't that nice? Like, everybody deserves that when they come home from work, is truly like the opportunity to relax. I feel like that's so hard for people, or just to feel that sense of calm. And cannabis can bring that and give that, which is what makes it so magical, I think.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And, when my kids were younger, the bad part of not having the cannabis is when I would come home from work, I'd tell them, give me an hour. I need an hour of me time, because my mind trying to process the day and everything. But it's because I was on edge, because, it's like, Dad needs an hour. Don't talk to me for an hour. Now it's like I come home, they know, hey, Dad. And even though they're older, they know, hey, they can approach me. So I guess I'm more approachable now, is what I'm trying to say. So.
Gosh, I mean, if that's not a huge win, like if anyone listening here, is on the edge of cannabis, like to be more approachable with your kids, like there's really nothing better than that. It truly is a gift. I'm so happy because at the end of the day, you're improving your relationships with your family. There's nothing more important than that. And it's crazy that a plant can help with that. We're always talking about, how it helps with pain relief and anxiety and things like that. But there's so many hidden gems of little things that it helps with that people might not necessarily know. So I'm so glad that you shared that with us, because there's just these little pockets of sunshine, I feel like, that occur with cannabis.
And, with your platform and the way things are going, the education and getting it out there, it's just going to get better and better. And one thing from like survival training in the Army, so what you learn from nature is what one thing can hurt you or make you sick, within reach, there's going to be something that's going to make you better. You know what I mean? And with cannabis being a naturally grown thing from the ground, because there's natural fields all over the United States, I think down south. What does that tell you? The Native Americans used hemp and all those things. It wasn't a party. They did it for a reason.
It's amazing that we, as like a society, are kind of just making that shift forward. I mean, with legalization, you felt so much more comfortable trying it. I'm so glad. I know we're not there where we want to be, but even just to have stories like you, where you can finally walk into a dispensary and get what you need. And now you don't need that at all, but it feels so much more comfortable when it's legal and we don't have to feel like we're sneaking around or doing something wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like, my granddaughter and them, they're going to be coming and moving up with us here in Montana, because my son-in-law is a Marine. So he's getting out anyway. So they're coming up, they're going to live with us. And my wife was like, hey, you're not going to do that stuff around our granddaughter. It's like, it's an edible. What are you talking about?
What do you mean? Like,
yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to smoke anything in front of her, whatever. She goes, well, I just don't feel comfortable. I said, well, if that's the fact, then I said, once our son-in-law comes up, he can't drink beer in front of our granddaughter. It's like, because they're both legal. Are you kidding me? But I mean, I'm not
the best argument.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and like process the stuff in front of her or whatever, because she's not old enough to understand. Yeah. And, you hear of these THC poisonings. That's because parents, just like with guns, if you leave a loaded gun somewhere and a kid can get a hold of it, guess what? Well, that's the same thing with your edibles or even your marijuana. If you do smoke, if you leave it out and your kid can get to it, guess what? And that's how they're going to get sick. And it's because of our, not disregard, I can't think of the word, but it's because of our carelessness that our children are getting sick from this THC.
Absolutely. And I just feel like as adults, we are responsible with a lot of things on a daily basis, whether it be guns, whether it be finances, whether it be driving a car. There are so many things that we do that are pretty dangerous that we all seem to figure out and do responsibly just fine. I think we can also figure out how to use a plant responsibly without having any kind of adverse reaction. And I guess that's the beauty of edibles, is like, no one has to see you eat it.
Right.
No one's going to even know if you eat it.
Yeah. They're not going to smell it,
Nothing.
And I mean, I've noticed with the edibles, like when I used to get high before, when I smoked, it was like, you could tell you were high. Your eyes are like so small and bloodshot. And with the edibles, you're not that way.
No, it's much more for me, like longer, more mellow, enjoyable type. Like I don't need to reach for another gummy in 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it, is it's just, just that little dose is enough. And hey, if it makes your time with your granddaughter more enjoyable, if you're pain-free and able to throw her up in the air and get down on the floor and laugh and giggle, like what's wrong with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I say, the only time I do it is at night. I get that hour in where I can get stuff around the house. And by that time I get things done, it's kicked in, and then I can kick back. And if I want to crack open a beer, I'll crack open a beer, but I've already put in my day. And like you said, then I can interact with my family and stuff, but it's no longer where give me an hour. It's like, all right, let's do this.
So nice. It's such a win. And I really hope any parents listening to this, especially dads, I feel like we don't have enough representation of cannabis using dads. So I'm so glad you're here. But to come home and say, when I come home, I'm happy and excited to see my family. If we could pass that on to another dad, like that would make everything, this whole interview, just so worth it, because I want dads to know that just because we talk about canna moms, as parents, we're all in this together. And if you can do something, parenting is hard, whether you're a mom or a dad, it is hard. And if there's something that can help you and help your family, you should absolutely feel comfortable and strong enough to use it.
Oh, absolutely. But then again, that goes to our responsibility. Just like anything, drinking, whether it's alcohol or liquor, beer, you can overdo it. And the same thing can be said with cannabis.
Yeah.
Know your limits, number one. And number two, like I said, for me, and what I've noticed with you, it's not the getting high. It's not the partying. It's the actual nutrition behind it, the healing properties of this product. It's not about, hey, let's, like back in the day when I was 19, 20 years old, we're going to party it up. I got so hammered. It's not about that. It's about health.
Yeah.
And that's the message we really need to get out there. It's not about partying. It's about health. It's about healing, things like that.
It's beautifully said. And like I said, men need to hear this more from other men that they can look up to, because there's a lot of women voices here, but I feel like having a respectable, honorable man say that, thank you so much, because it really brings so much to anyone who's listening who needs to hear that like little voice of confidence too.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. It's like, all right, I know it does have a stigma, but my dad always used to say, you get mad, scratch your butt and get glad. Well, pretty much that's, you just got to get over it.
Yeah,
you really do. It's like, just try it. If it's not for you, then it's not for you.
Absolutely. But, there's no shame in trying.
If prescription drugs aren't doing it for you, if the side effects are just way too much for you, so you quit. If it's going to keep you in that funk, try it. I mean, it's not a bad thing. If it's legal where you live, go for it. But again, do it, in moderation, just like anything else. And you'll find, like for me, it was the moderation and figuring out, okay, when can I eat it? Or, what I'm saying? I had to come and use it at the proper time. And because I'm doing it, I'm using it responsibly, I feel better for it. So.
And now you're in control really of your own health, because as you learn to use it, you learn that you can manipulate it. So if you're feeling a certain way, you can take a certain dose or you can change it up. And it really puts the power in your hands to be able to feel like you can control or at least care for your mental, physical, and emotional health without having to run to a doctor or get a pharmaceutical. And I feel like for a lot of people, that's very empowering.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because I try to keep two different kind of strains of gummies. I've got the one that's, more like, what do they say? How do they?
The sativa.
The sativa. Yeah.
I knew that's where you were going.
Yeah, but I couldn't think of the name. It's like, because I got a friend, he grows his own, and
perfect.
It's the funny thing is we got to talking about this, and I was like, yeah, I've been researching on how to make gummies and stuff. I said, but I got to have, the flour, because I'm learning all the terminology. Because back in the day, it was just like, hey, twist it up, who's got the baggie, But and he's very intelligent. The guy really studied up, and he's got it down to a science, like you, from how he grows. And the stuff that I make, the oil and the canna butter I make, is only from his trimmings. And it's crazy the amount of THC and stuff that we are pulling from it. Just from his trimmings. We haven't even touched the bud yet, or the flower. It's just the trim, because we have so much oil, we don't need to. So he's storing it, and he goes, well, when we run out,
when you run out, which is, I mean, it's so nice though that you are able, that is so much cost savings compared to going to a dispensary. And I don't know if you feel this way, but I enjoy the process of making oils and gummies and like feeling like I'm making my own medicine and feeling in control of the ingredients and what you put into it. And like, it just is like a very cathartic experience.
Absolutely. And, here in Montana, even though they do have the recreational marijuana, it's regulated. So you're only allowed, in all the products I've seen in the stores, it's like 100 milligrams total, like per candy bar, per crunch or whatever. Where here, I mean, I can kind of, with your calculator, I kind of guesstimate where our content is, and with his strain, which is sativa that he grows, it's up there in a teaspoon, just from, you know. And yeah, we're running probably about, I'd say 30 milligrams per teaspoon with his stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
So,
exciting.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, and it's like the next thing we're going to try to do is FICO.
There you go.
We're going to try the FICO, but yeah, between, you know, and all I do is, the only money I've got into it is the price of the MCT oil. And I can get that here at a local grocery store. I mean, it's, $10 for like a 18-ounce can or whatever it is. And well, this last batch that we had made, we ended up with, I think, 40 ounces of oil out of, and we drew it out of, granted it was 2 ounces, but it was of his trimmings.
Yeah.
So, and a 16-ounce mason jar lasts a long time.
I bet. Do you have any plans for growing for yourself in the future?
He's going to start teaching me. I've got the book. He calls it his Bible.
Is a science. I have none of that education. I am always impressed by it. It is the most magical botanical science experiment I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's funny because he has he told me like 2 different kind of grow lights that he does, because he does it indoors. We're in Montana. Well, you're in New York, you know, you get cold up there too.
Oh yeah.
But here in Montana, you know, we got the snow and stuff. But he has like high phosphorus. I mean, all this science stuff. The lights, LED, and then he goes into it with CBN, CBA, THC, THN. He knows all this stuff. All I do is I take it and I turn it into stuff. You know what I mean? But he's the science guy behind growing what he's growing. And it's very, I mean, I'm going to try to get into, once my granddaughter moves out, then I can take over my game room again. But then I can, you know, have a little corner where I can grow plants, because he took me to his house and showed me his operation. We're only allowed 4 plants, but these plants he had, I mean, they were a good 3 foot tall, and they were just full of bud. I was like,
aren't they beautiful? Like the first time to see one is like, it's Wonderland.
Yeah, it is. And I'm like, you know, when I looked at it, the one plant, I mean, I'm just like, well, that doesn't look like a lot of weed. And he's looking at it, he goes, I'll get 2 ounces off that. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Wow. But, you know, again, he's using it for medical purposes, for his anxiety and stuff. But now, because he had tried to do the edibles, the oils, the tinctures, and he couldn't do it. He said he kept ruining it. Well, I said, let me try it. And I found you and your super easy to follow guide that you've got. And it was success. And, you know, like I said, he grows it.
It sounds like a beautiful partnership.
Oh, yeah. We want to open a dispensary. But right now, within the city limits of where we live, it's our city commissioners aren't allowing it.
We're doing some of that in New York too, where like you can have it here but not over here type thing. There's
only a couple cities here in Montana that are pretty open to, like Missoula's one. They've got shops all over the place. I think Bozeman's the other one. Then of course they're college towns. But they've got the dispensaries. You know, I don't want to say every block, but it's a lot more frequent than here where I live. So,
I mean, that is so exciting though. Like traditionally, when I think of Montana, I think, you know, maybe one of the last states to legalize. To hear that there's actual dispensaries you can just walk into recreationally is like so exciting for you.
Yeah. And they're all outside city limits, obviously. They're in the county. I mean, but it's not far. I've got one right up the hill. It's maybe a mile and a half away, you know, if I really want to. But like I said, I've got my stuff in my fridge. So it's like,
it's amazing. You don't need, I mean, dispensaries are expensive. And if you have like this beautiful partnership with your friend where he grows it, you make it, like, why not? That is the best of both worlds. You're saving money. You're helping and learning from each other. I'm sure you're building a friendship and a relationship, and you're probably going to share it with other people who it's going to help as well. So it really is just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, they hear us talking and they're like, well, what? And, there's stuff that we can't do at work, obviously, but it's like, well, I said, here's where I live. If you want to come over, I'll give you a couple to try, see what you think.
Yeah.
But, I mean, rather than, again, they're worried that if I go to a dispensary, they're going to see my car and, they're going to make fun of me or I'll get in trouble. It's like, dude, it's legal. But if you
It's a
really
bit,
don't, yeah, it's legal. You're okay. But,
it's still so hard. Like
yeah,
the first time I walked out of dispensary looking around, like, was that allowed? Am I allowed to do that? And you are not the first person to say that. I feel like everybody has that moment of like, I just did something completely legal that feels very illegal. And
yeah,
oh my
right.
God, someone's gonna get me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But again, like I said, because we make it or I make it and, I share with my friend what we make. And if somebody wants to try it, it's like, hey, I'll give you a couple for free.
Yeah.
See what you think.
Yeah.
And I also tell them that for every person, their metabolism's different. It works a little different for whatever,
Smart. Yeah.
So I'll give you this. This is what you can expect. This is what it does for me. It might do something different for you. But they try it and they're like, oh, okay.
But how beautiful is that? Is you found the relief and now you're sharing that with others and giving that and passing that forward. And I think what I see so much in this cannabis community, what's so beautiful about that is that's how this works. It's one person holding another person's hand and saying, let me help you. This is what worked for me and let me help you try it, which I think is just a beautiful thing, like on a human level, because we don't see that so much anymore.
Right. And again, I try to follow your platform. It's not about, and I tell the people, I says, I do this not to get high. I mean, you can really get high if you really want to eat it, but it's more about body. It's more about feeling good, about feeling better, not hurting, not having near as much anxiety without, having to go to big pharma with the side effects to do it. So if I can help somebody out that way, because I know what it's done for me and I know how freeing it is for me personally. And if I could do the same thing for somebody else, why not give them
That's
that freedom
beautiful.
that I feel?
And I hope that this podcast just kind of amplifies your voice and lets even more people hear your wisdom, because I mean, everybody deserves what you have to feel comfortable and to be able to come home from work and feel relaxed and happy. I mean, there's nothing better.
Yeah, because I'd love, for the stigma to be taken away. Like I said, there's only a few states in the United States that are, legal. But even in those states, even if you go to Oregon or Washington State, I mean, there's still that stigma.
Yeah.
You can walk into a dispensary there and people that are walking around give you that old, they give you that ugly eye. It's like, dude, it's legal. Come on, get off. I'm not a stoner. It's not like back in the 70s and 80s when people just, hey, dude, like Spicoli, I'm so high, it's not that. It's about, feeling better. To me personally, and I feel that that's how you present it. That's your platform. It's about the body and mind. It's not about high. It's not about partying.
And that's perfect. I'm just so glad you said that, because people need to hear that from all people, all different walks of life, and say like, wow, like maybe I'm actually wrong when people keep telling me over and over again how awesome it is. Hopefully people will be like, maybe I should give it a try. That's my hope anyway, is that people will just be open-minded enough just to try it once and see if it helps.
Right. And we're not trying to become pushers.
No.
It's like, because somebody will come up and if they get to talking, hey, this is how I feel. I've tried this, and this. It's like, well, I've got something that you can try. I can, meet you in the parking lot, whatever, and I can give you one, see what you think. Don't do it at work. Don't do it at work. Do it at home. I say, because and then try it and see what you think. And then, I mean, because I'm not going to sell, I'm not legal. But, this way I can get them maybe into a dispensary somewhere and they can get to feeling better. I know there's a couple people around work that I've, I don't want to say introduced, but I took them from their thought of just getting high and partying to where it's actually making them feel better. It's like, if you, just dose it, if you're feeling bad, it's crazy. But it's fun, turning. Yeah. But this has to be turned away from being a stigma. It's not. And, your platform is perfect for that.
Thank you so much. And doesn't it feel good to make other people feel good? It's like
It
you
does.
said, we're not pushing. You have to tell someone when you feel so good and you've almost found the secret. It's like you want to share it with other people,
Yeah.
and you don't have to do it, but I'm really passionate because it worked for me.
Right. Yeah. And that's it. That's the perfect word right there. Passionate about it because it worked for me. It's not that, oh, hey, here's $20 for a hit or whatever. It's not that.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
try it. If you like it, there's dispensaries up there that are legit. They got the same stuff, but mine's a little stronger. No, but because I'm not regulated, but that's because it's for my own personal
Yeah,
consumption. And
absolutely.
it works for me. If you don't like it, then guess what? The effects will wear off. You go to bed and you're done.
On for
You
another
know?
day. That's right.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to wake up with a hangover or,
Yeah.
I mean, you just start a fresh new day.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I
And I
want to
know
be,
some.
oh, go
Go ahead.
ahead.
Sorry.
No, you go
You
ahead.
go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say for a couple of people that I've given it to, they actually like it because they slept through the night.
That's a big
So,
one we don't, always talk about is like, wow, what a difference it can make for sleep.
well, because without sleep or lack of sleep, I mean, because being in the Army, we had sleep deprivation when you're out in the field. You got somebody out there, that's wanting to come around and shoot you or do whatever to you, because you're in their country. It's like, you're wide awake. But we also know that the bad effects of that, heart disease, um, heart disease, again, the anxieties and stuff, and you're just short tempered. But if
Yeah,
you get a full night's sleep, guess what? You're going to feel way better in the morning. I know I do.
absolutely. I mean, sleep is so essential for so many things in our life. And if you could use one thing just to help that,
Mm-hmm.
take away the pain, the anxiety, anything, to get a full night's sleep, like you said, you're such a kinder person in the morning when you wake
Yeah,
up.
absolutely. It's not like I need my cup of Joe before.
Yeah.
No, you
Yeah.
wake up and say, hey, I had a good night's sleep. I feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great. And a lot of
Yep.
people, that's all they're looking for. You don't need to get high, but if you want a better night's sleep, if that's all you want, like you can get that with
Mm-hmm.
cannabis.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. You just take it an hour or two before bed. And once you feel it starting to kick in, you go grab that pillow and bada bing, bada boom.
Sleep like
You
a
know,
baby.
absolutely forget about it. But, you wake up the next morning. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you wake up in the next morning feeling good too. Like there's no hangover, there's no
Yep.
fog. I personally am not like extra tired or anything because I consumed it. I just feel like I'm fresh and ready for a new
hmm
day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've noticed too that without, with being on cannabis now, or with using cannabis, not being on using, I'm not up as many times a night, to use the restroom or whatever, because I'm tossing and turning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'm up anyway. Might as well go do this. Because you see those old people commercials or movies where you see the guy getting up 4 or 5 times a night to use the restroom. But I mean, that's really cut down because I'm sleeping. You
Yeah.
take it. I feel it kicking in. It's like, okay, time to go to bed. And yeah, then you go to sleep. You wake up and that's it. You just feel good because you slept through the night and you slept hard.
Priceless,
That's what
really.
I
I mean, you really can't even put a price on the gift of sleep.
know because I know, prior to the being legal here in Montana, I would wake up in the middle of the night hurting, so I'd have to go take some
Yeah.
ibuprofen. You
Yeah.
know, and again, like I said, I'm sleeping through the night like a baby. So, and I've been doing it for a year now, and yeah, my kids seen the change, my wife's seen the change, and it's all positive. It really is.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. And I mean, just a year really is a short period of time in the grand scheme of things. Like to have such a transformation like that is got to be so awesome. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. Well, because once you hit 40, that's when things start hurting. So from the pain aspect of things, when my body catching up to what I did when I felt I was indestructible, from 15 years basically of tolerating the pain, and then prior to that, after I got out of the Army, I was what, 20, 21. And then of course back then you didn't have PTSD. You just had to suck it up and drive on. It's
Yeah.
like, we don't have that. We don't know what you're talking about. You're a pansy, you're a wuss, you're whatever. But now that it's actually recognized, dealing with that for that amount of time and then self-medicating with the alcohol, Actually, I got into cocaine use, and that threw me down a big rabbit hole. But I've been off of that stuff since 1995. Well, actually, no, before that, 94 is when I came back to Montana and got out of that scene. But yeah, then it was back to the self-medicating with alcohol. Now, like I said, this past year has been a huge growth for me. It just, I feel better, works better, all that stuff, just because of, like you say, a plant.
Yeah. And it's so nice knowing, like, moving towards the future as you get older, you have a tool in your tool belt now for whatever comes along your way, and that you can live these next years happy and healthy and not even like predict that pain is going to be a part of the equation, which has got to feel amazing.
Absolutely. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, the predictable pain, because it's really not predictable anymore. The flare-ups now, there's nothing I can do because I'm at that age where something's going to flare up. But for the everyday, day to day, where, I mean, like I said, I would consume at least 12 to 18 ibuprofen tablets a day. Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Every 4 hours, because I hurt. And again, my stomach paid for it. But now I'm not doing it. I might take two. I take two in the morning and I'm done.
That's a huge, that's a drastic reduction. I'm super happy for you. That is great.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like I said, it's my stomach is repairing, or whatever you want to call it, because I don't get the acid reflux near as much as I used to.
That's great.
Yeah, there's so many benefits to this, and I forget about some of the other things that, it does help. But mind and body for sure. Sleeping, there's a lot of benefits to it. And if with you doing this and getting this out there, hopefully you can get enough people behind you where this is a good movement. It's the right movement. It's going the right way. It's trying to take that, again, I hate using the word, but get that stigma out, away from it. And there is actual benefit to cannabis. There really is. Like when I first smoked, it was just to get high. But now I realize there are actual benefits to it, and used in the right way, it has helped. Like I said, this past year, my life has changed big time. So
I'm so happy. And I do want to be respectful of your time. I like to ask my guests all the same 4 questions. Are you up for them?
Okay.
All right. So first of all, what are you most proud of in your life to date?
To date, I'd have to say that I've actually successfully raised my 3 kids. They've all graduated high school. Even, prior to the cannabis, that I actually slogged through life. I don't want to say coasted. I was treading water, trying to stay afloat, but and I didn't screw them up. So,
as a parent myself, I know like that is the ultimate goal. To be able to say that, it's got to feel awesome.
Yeah, and it is. And like I said, my kids have seen the change this past year, how much more mellow, laid back. There has been, I just wish this would have happened 10 years ago. This would have been legalized, and it would have been a better deal. But the thing I'm proud of is that, we own a home, my 3 kids, they're grown up, they're graduating. It's, my daughter, I have a granddaughter now, it's a little over a year old. So, that's what I'm proud of, is family, because that's the way I was raised, family.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Obviously there's service to the country, but the biggest is family.
And now you're showing up just even better for your family. Like, I'm so proud of you, because if that is the most important thing for you, just to put the cherry on top of that and show up for your family in a new way is really awesome. I'm super happy for you for that.
Oh yeah, I am too.
I bet your kids and your wife are too.
Absolutely.
This will kind of piggyback off what you had just said, but if you could sit down with yourself 10, 20, 30 years ago and give yourself a piece of cannabis advice, what would it be?
All right. Well, 30 years ago, that would have been about the time when I started, getting just high. It's like, don't use it to just get high. If I would have had the knowledge then that I do now of making the edibles and the actual value to it, I'd say, hey, there's a value to this. It's not a party drug. This is actually a get well drug. This is going to help you with your anxiety. This is going to help you with your PTSD. And this is going to help. Well, I didn't have the aches and pains that back then that I do now.
Yeah.
But, those 2 benefits alone would have changed probably the whole outcome of my life. I probably wouldn't have been as reckless, making those stupid decisions just out of the whatever. Of course, then again, if I hadn't made those decisions, I wouldn't have the wife I have. I wouldn't have the kids I have.
Yeah.
But to tell myself, it's back then, it's like, okay, don't use this for a party drug. There are actual benefits to it. So
wonderful advice. Now, moving forward, what do you think your life would look like if you never gave cannabis a try?
Honestly, I'd still be the grumpy old fart that I was. Short-tempered.
You don't seem like that now at all. So,
No.
Cannabis has served you well.
It has. And, in the future, just, it's just onward and upward, basically.
Oh, perfect. If you could be remembered for one thing in the cannabis space, what would it be?
Trying to, and I'll say it again, but trying to get that stigma away from what cannabis is. It's not, you can party with it, don't get me wrong, but just like alcohol used in moderation, you can have a fun time.
Yep.
You don't have to get drunk, you don't have to get wasted. And that's the same thing with cannabis, is to get the stigma off of it, to educate people like you are. And it's like, there are benefits to this, and I am living it.
Yeah.
I'm living it. I feel it. And it's like, I guess that's that.
It's perfect. It's perfect. And I'm going to ask one more question. Speaking to our service members, if anybody is listening to this podcast, do you have any words of wisdom for them if they are struggling and not sure if cannabis is the right choice to try or not?
Well, unfortunately for my brothers in arms out there, like I said, the government, they say that they have our backs and stuff, but I've been through the mill with those guys. All this paperwork you got to go through, but guys, give this stuff a try. Use it in the right context. Use it. Go in using it to tell yourself, all right, this is going to help me with my anxiety. This is going to help me with my PTSD. It's not there to be a party drug. It can help. You got to get the right strains or whatever, but it's not a bad thing. It actually can help you. It's helped me. It can help you. Is it perfect? No. Are pharmaceuticals perfect? No. Matter of fact, pharmaceuticals have more drawbacks than what cannabis does. All cannabis will do is put you to sleep. Oh man, I'm high. But if they're out there and they're struggling and they're hurting, it is one way. If you can't get in to see what they call a SVO or no, a VSO, Veteran Service Officer, if you can't get in to be seen, give it a try, but find a good holistic relief. You don't want to go to just just like a pot shop. I hate to say it, but you know what I mean. And not a true, because there is a one or two around here that's strictly what they are, is a pot shop. They're about the high or the money. Where for me, it's more about the body. So find holistic relief, which like you do, and find one that does have the THC, the cannabis and stuff, and it works. It just try it. Don't because we have too many veterans right now that are killing themselves. It's the survivor's remorse. It's the guilt. I have a couple buddies that have actually killed themselves as they got older. Don't. If anything, if it's the last resort, try cannabis. Don't pull the trigger. Don't do something silly. Don't do something that, just don't. Live. Don't die. Live.
Oh, I have goosebumps. Thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom, because I truly hope that on the other end, somebody is going to listen to your words and your advice, and it's going to truly make a really big difference in their life. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Again, thank you so much for your service to our country. And thank you for now in this next phase, hopefully helping our veterans and helping our next generation accept cannabis and bring you the joy and relief that you have found. So thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you.
Congratulations. You've finished another episode of the Well with Cannabis podcast and are one step closer to discovering how you too can live well with cannabis. Thank you for listening in today. We hope this episode has been a helpful and informative one. Please visit EmilyKyleNutrition.com for more information on today's show notes, guest information, recipes, and other resources. If you want more support and encouragement on your cannabis journey, please consider joining the private Well with Cannabis community. In this group, you can connect with like-minded individuals focused on improving their health and wellness through cannabis. Join the group today to continue your journey of wellness together at EmilyKyleNutrition.com.